You ever wake up one morning and realize the ground beneath your feet, what your grandfather left you, what you thought was unshakable could just vanish because somebody with a clipboard and a fake smile decided it was her turn to play queen? That's where this wild ride starts. My name's Thomas Harrison, and if you told me a year ago, I'd be sitting here telling you about a full-blown war with the HOA over a forest that's been in my family since before the Civil War, I'd have laughed in your face. But here we are, and I promise you, you've never heard a neighbor story like this one. See, that forest by Clearwater Lake isn't just trees and dirt. It's 180 years of blood, sweat, and family history. My roots go deeper than those ancient oaks. Every day since I was a kid, I'd walk those trails, listening to the birds, feeling the sun break through the leaves, hearing my granddad's voice echoing in my head. Every tree. Here's got a story, Tommy. You'll be the keeper of these stories one day. He wasn't lying. What he didn't mention was some stories get real messy before you find out how they end. The trouble blew in like a bad storm, and her name was Rebecca Sterling. Picture someone who just moved in, but acts like she's owned the place since forever. Always overdressed, always talking about development opportunities, always scheming up ways to squeeze more money out of a lakeside community that just wanted peace and quiet. She swooped in, ran for HOA president, and won before anyone could figure out what hit us. She called herself Becca, like we were all besties. But her eyes kept wandering to my trees, and not in an I love nature way. More like I see dollar signs. You know that look people get when they're measuring up what's yours for their own plans? Yeah, that. First thing she did was pitch this partnership. Her words, not mine. Thomas, think about the value, she said, laying it on thick, a resort right where your forest stands. Split the profits. Make a legacy. I smiled back and told her what any man with a spine would: the forest isn't for sale. Not now, not ever. And right then, for a split second, I saw the real her. The smile cracked. Underneath, pure anger masked fast, but I caught it. She was used to getting her way. She wasn't about to start losing now. After that meeting, Mrs. Murphy, the kind of neighbor who knows everything before it happens, pulls me aside. Real hush-hush. She's like, Thomas, honey, she paid for that house in cash, 800 grand. No mortgage, no nothing. Now tell me who buys a lakeside home with cash unless something's off. I had a feeling deep down that Becca wasn't just ambitious, she was desperate. Sure enough, just 3 days after I shot her down, the rules started rolling in. New HOA regulations every morning like clockwork. First, all trees had to be 25 feet from the property line. My forest, impossible. Then no fallen leaves on common areas, cleanup every 6 hours. 6 hours. Can you believe that? Who rakes leaves in a forest around the clock? Wednesday, wildlife noise under 35 decibels. Try telling that to a blue jay at sunrise. Thursday, mandatory pesticide spraying unauthorized insects as if my trees were breaking the law. And Friday, $500 a month landscape maintenance fee for land that's been just fine for 2 centuries without her help. That weekend, the HOA sent their little army clipboards, cameras, measuring tapes, marching around like a military inspection. They took pictures of roots, shadows, leaves, and called them violations. I racked up $200 in fines in 2 days for having a living, breathing forest. I could have buckled. Most folks would have paid just to make it stop. But I don't do bullies. I started documenting everything: pictures, videos, notes, every crazy demand. And then I called my old college buddy Jake, who happens to be a bulldog of a lawyer. Jake listens to my story, then laughs a real dangerous laugh. She's trying to force you to sell Thomas. That's all this is. He started digging into Rebecca's background. Meanwhile, Mrs. Murphy was at my door again, whispering about men in suits visiting Becca, late at night heated arguments, her crying, none of it neighborly. Something bigger than HOA drama was brewing. Then came the real twist. Rebecca tried to stage a fall on my property right where my cameras were rolling. She flung herself into the only patch of mud for miles called 911 and put on an Oscar-worthy show. Officer Martinez, bless him, watched the footage with me. You ever see someone's face melt when their whole scheme falls apart? She stammered, denied. But the truth was right there, high def and humiliating. Rebecca doubled down, as desperate people do, filed a lawsuit through the HOA, demanded $75,000 for her injury, and asked the court to hand over management of my forest. The woman wanted to take the very thing she'd been trying to destroy and use the law as her hammer. But here's where old family secrets saved me. My granddad's faded document from 1847. Turns out it was a bona fide Forest Heritage Protection Certificate. Meant my woods had state-level protection. HOA rules didn't mean squat. Court day comes. Judge Wells presiding, tough, sharp, no patience for nonsense. Rebecca's lawyers paraded doctored photos and medical reports. Jake just grinned and handed over the certificate, then dropped a bombshell, my recording of Rebecca outside the courthouse instructing someone to destroy evidence and cover up her resort plans. The room went dead silent when that tape played. Rebecca's whole scam unraveled in public, her own words sealing her fate. The judge wasn't having any of it. HOA's lawsuit. Dismissed with prejudice, Rebecca banned from my property for 99 years, facing federal charges, fraud, obstruction, the works. HOA ordered to pay my legal fees and compensation, and my family's forest. Now protected by law for another century, off limits to any future developer with delusions of grandeur. You know what's better than winning? Watching karma land with both feet. Within weeks, the community ousted Rebecca, replaced her with someone who actually cared, and property values shot up, not because of some fake resort, but because people wanted to live next to a piece of untouched history. Rebecca, meanwhile, lost her house, her reputation, and got handed a one-way ticket to federal prison. The same neighbors who once nodded along with her schemes apologized, even helped clear up some of the mess. Poetic justice, right? But I didn't stop there. I put up a bench at the forest entrance, Rebecca Sterling Memorial Bench, dedicated to learning from greed. Folks take photos, laugh, and tell their own stories of HOA bullies getting what they deserve. Kids on school trips ask, who was the lady who tried to steal the trees? Even Mrs. Murphy got a kick out of that. That woman's rolling over in her jail cell. Thomas. So now, every morning I walk the trails my grandfather showed me. Breathe in the air. Drink my coffee and watch the squirrels do their thing, nature undisturbed, just as it should be. The lesson: bullies eventually dig their own graves, especially when they're greedy enough to record their own confessions. Some things like family legacy and wild places aren't for sale at any price. And you watching this, what's the wildest HOA or neighbor story you've ever seen? Hit that like if you love a little karma, share your story below, and let's keep standing up for what matters. Justice doesn't always come easy, but when it does, man, is it worth the wait. Peace out, folks. Remember, nature always wins.